preps to pros and everything in between. It's Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Live from the Lee Company studio. With the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, here's Chris Yao.
Yes, live from the Lee Company studios, plural. As we come to you from our humble abodes. It is Monday, and we are glad to be with you because it's Reaction Monday and it's Labor Day. So we've been pretty much off all day, hanging out, doing not much of nothing. Well, I say that. Mo and I have been working at least a little bit on the newspaper that's coming out on Wednesday.
More than a little bit. But anyway.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. So it's Labor Day. So if you guys are out there and you have had a great weekend, a fun filled weekend of football like us, I know you're ready for Reaction Monday. So apologize for it taking a little bit of time to get up, but here we are. And since we are here, we got to get to this quickly because we need to go ahead and get out of the way. The Monday Rundown.
Here's the Rundown. The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy, providing a Christ-centered college prep education at an affordable cost. Call 931-388-5731 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule an appointment for a tour today.
In Week 3 Friday night football action, Cornersville defeated Huntland 10-0. It was Summertown 15, Richland 10. Forest Edge Loretto 13-7, as did Cascade 16-14 at Mount Pleasant. Montgomery Central with a Region 5-4A victory over Lawrence County 39-12. It was Page 47, Spring Hill 6. Columbia Central defeated Franklin County 33-9. It was Summit 27, Brentwood 14. Independence blank Centennial 35-0, and Jackson Christian 38, Columbia Academy 17.
In volleyball action, Hampshire defeated Columbia Central 3-2. And in cross country over the weekend, Huntland's girls finished fourth at the John Freeman Invitational with Logan McLennan taking fifth place overall. Connor Henson took second at the City Auto Memphis Twilight Classic. CA's team finished 21st. The Independence boys were third at the Victor Ash Park Fall Classic with a seventh-place finish from Nate Martinez, and the Indy girls were fourth at the same event with Julia Halterman taking seventh.
Today's high school volleyball action has Spring Hill traveling to Lewisburg to take on Marshall County. In golf, as we speak, East Hickman, Fairview, Hampshire, Loretto, Richland, and Santa Fe have teed it up at the Mount Pleasant Country Club.
And that's going to do it for your Monday Rundown on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. All right, Mo, we got to get right into this because we've still got college football. It's still week 1 of college football. If you didn't get enough Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you got one more chance. The only difference is that tonight's Ole Miss Louisville game will be without probably the most intriguing part, which is Lane Kiffin, as he will not be on the sideline for the Rebs with a positive COVID-19 test.
You know, he's an intriguing part. I don't know that he is the most intriguing part because, again, as we discussed last Friday, I think Matt Corral is getting some Heisman Trophy buzz. And so to see him come out tonight against Louisville, I think is going to be intriguing. And it'll be intriguing that Lane won't be there to be in his ear, figuratively or literally.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my question here is what kind of impact is that going to have? Because Lane is kind of, I mean, he's the guy. He's their coach. He's the quarterback coach. He's the offensive coordinator. He is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much Steve Spurrier-ish in that respect. And so, you know, again, Corral coming out in his season opener without his guy there. And I would imagine that, you know, Lane is a little bit of a security blanket for his quarterbacks in that respect. So, yeah, I mean, your point is made. It'll be interesting, especially early on, until Corral gets settled in, to see what impact, if any, there is as far as that goes.
Do you think their opponent will have a say on the impact that it has on Corral? Because honestly, I mean, is Louisville an opponent that Ole Miss should have to worry about?
I think you have to worry about them, and I'll be interested to see, what they do differently defensively if they try to dial up some stuff that they might not otherwise do, just because they don't feel like Ole Miss will be able to react to it as well without Kiffin's input.
That's curious, but this game as a whole is probably 2 years ago would have been obviously a very big deal.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we've talked about the hot seat in Louisville. Obviously, Kiffin has. I don't know that he's flirted with other jobs. I don't think he has necessarily flirted with them. I think that his name has been linked to some jobs because, well, he's a hot name and he's done well at Ole Miss. So how much of an impact does that have when you're coaching with your back up against the wall?
Yeah, that's a good question. And as you said, I do think, we've discussed Scott Satterfield and his eventful offseason with the South Carolina job that he didn't get, and the bridges that he might have impacted in Louisville as a result. So, the seat may be a little warm for him, and they probably need to have a pretty good showing. And I don't think this, like you said, this Louisville team isn't the Louisville team that we saw 2-3 years ago. And I'm not just talking about Lamar Jackson Louisville. I mean, even after that, they've kind of dropped off a little bit. I think they've kind of lost some market share in the ACC, and especially watching Florida State last night. I'm not sure where Louisville stands in the Atlantic Coast Conference right now, and I'm certainly not sure where Scott Satterfield stands.
To me, I think it's important to note that yes, that is kind of where we are. It's an SEC ACC battle tonight, and this is really the ACC's last shot at maybe at least somewhat keeping some respect after this weekend. It hasn't been great, although I think Florida State's showing last night certainly helped, but a win would have been better for them, and it is what it is. Speaking of that game, had an interesting moment with the officials and a measurement where it apparently was very difficult for the official to see whether or not the ball actually crossed the first down line. Is it time to put some trackers like the AAF had in footballs, or is the number of footballs it would take to do that across college football just too many?
It might be a little bit more costly across college football than it was for 12 teams in the AAF. I mean,
sure,
but it would just seem like it doesn't seem like it should be as hard as it is.
So, I mean, whatever we got to do, can we get a laser gun, a laser pointer across the field? Like, would that work? I don't know.
It would seem like you could put some type of lasers I don't know what you call them exactly. I mean, they're referred to as the chains, but whatever holds the chains in those 10-yard increments, the sticks, it would seem like there would be something you could do technologically, put them across the field from each other and shoot something across. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it just doesn't seem in 2021 that it should be as hard as it is.
That's the way I'm feeling here. I mean, it should not be as difficult, but if you start on the hash marks and you start on the yard lines, you don't really have that problem most of the time, as Chuck Morris mentioned on my Facebook earlier. So maybe you just do a better job of preventive officiating and start on a hash mark.
Hello. Head those, preventive officiating. Head it off early.
Headed
before we
off
get
at
to
the
that
pass.
point.
That's right. We got a huge show for you, and we're going to get to it right here real quick. We got reaction to high school football and college football. Joe Williams later this hour. Stick around. Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today returns right after this.
Local sports talk you'll only find here. It's Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Live from the Lee Company studio with the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, here's Chris Yao.
Welcome back into Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. And we're back a little early in this break, and this show may not last till 6 o'clock because, one, we got some things that we'd like to do, such as eat leftover meats that JP smoked this weekend. Still got some bologna left over.
Or fresh meats that I'm grilling tonight.
So let me tell you a funny story. Sarah decided that she wanted some McDonald's earlier. She was like, I want a hamburger. I'm going to McDonald's. And I was like, we got McDonald's at home.
Oh, Lord.
So I made 2 really nice quarter-pound cheeseburgers for her. She ate one. I had some waffle sweet potato fries. So she was solid. It was a good day. We don't got McDonald's money, honey. We got McDonald's at home. It was good, though. Hamburgers are always good on Labor Day. It's
no question. And as long as Sarah was happy, that's all that matters.
She was full and happy.
There you go.
Mo, let's talk about some of our reactions from this past week. But before we do that, we have to tell you about Jason Egley, one of our fantastic sponsors on this show.
Is proud to be your local farmer's agent. Give him a call at 615-250-2723, 615-250-2723, and get smart about your coverage. If you are an educator or a teacher, Jason's going to give you a discount. So make sure to give Jason Egley a call. Lawrenceburg native, Jason Egley. Gotta love him. That's 615-250-2723. Again, get smart about your coverage and call Jason Egley, your local farmer's agent.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
So let's start here. Loretto, we both had the Mustangs picked in this one, and their defense did its job. The one thing that I don't think either of us saw coming was only 7 points out of that offense.
And no, not at all. And, they kind of kept Caden Porter in check, relatively speaking. The one touchdown came on a pass, which wasn't necessarily expected, but Porter had led a pretty solid run game through the first two games in that win over Collinwood and the 38 points that they had put up in the loss to Lawrence County. So kind of, like you said, expected more than one touchdown drive out of the Mustangs in that one. And it may just speak more to Forrest than anything. But yeah, I thought that was a game that was there for Loretto going on the road, but still, maybe Forrest still runs things in 5-2A.
Well, defensively, perhaps their offense clearly, they didn't dominate the way that you would want to if you want to be the class of a region necessarily. To me, and I guess we can touch on this a little bit later, but that was one of the bigger surprises of the week was Loretto only scoring 7 points. And then, as you mentioned, Lawrence County, they give up 39, which maybe not too much of a surprise after last week, but didn't score nearly as much as we thought they would.
No, they didn't score. It looks like Montgomery Central kind of went in and kind of took Alex Carr a little bit out of the equation, limited him. I think he finished up with 105 passing yards and about half that on the ground. But Lawrence County finished up with about 200 offensive yards total, scored twice in the third quarter, and by that time, the game was pretty well in hand for Montgomery Central.
Yeah, they were pretty dominant in this one, and I think when you can be dominant, or as dominant as they were, and do it running the football, pretty much going to win most of the time.
Yeah, and we had kind of seen this out of Montgomery Central leading into this ball game. They are pretty ground game oriented and managed to continue to do that in this 39-12 win to open Region 5-4A play. So, now that everybody in that league is in region play, it's going to be interesting to see how Lawrence County responds and is able to, maybe get their offense going, get some balance over there. Because, again, Carr with 105 passing yards, they ran for 95 yards on 25 carries, just under 4 yards a carry. Don't know how that's going to work over the long haul.
Yeah, especially in that region where you've already got the top two teams are pretty well set.
And maybe even the top three.
And and you're really playing for one spot. So it's not a great way for the Wildcats to start off the region play series, as they have 7 more games in a row to take care of. Staying in Lawrence County, and all of my surprises or whatever, this part is all Lawrence County, because Summertown gets its first win, and I'm hoping that we can get Dakota Cruz on later this week, because it would be a great to hear from him and talk about his first win. But we talked about Summertown. We both picked Summertown to win this game. You thought it would be their offense. I said it would be their defense. It seems to have been at least somewhat both, because their defense got the stops that they needed.
Well, the defense got the stops that they needed, and they scored the winning touchdown with a minute to play. So
do I get an extra win?
I'm sorry?
Do I get an extra win and pick them then for picking the defense?
I understand why you would want to, because you need to, but
I don't need to. I'm up by 2 games. I don't know what you're talking
well, it's early. It's early. You're talking high school pick'ems.
Yes, let's not talk about college yet. We'll get there. That's another story.
But no, I mean the defense got a safety, or the special teams got a safety, as Richland snapped a punt attempt out the back of the end zone to make it what? Guess that made it 10-9. Good Lord. Before Schaefer, Colton Schaefer and Ty Bryant hooked up for 58 yards with a minute to play. So, it definitely from a spectator standpoint, had to be a great game to watch.
Yes, I bet it was. I bet it was a lot of fun. I wish I had been there for sure. As we were talking about 5-2A, it feels like this thing might be closer than we initially thought. Maybe not at the top, because obviously Forest could be that team, but we don't know that. I mean, they only beat Loretto by 6 points. Cascade with a 2-point win over Mount Pleasant, all because of a safety. It feels like anybody in this region could win on any given night.
Well, you just said it. Cascade beats Mount Pleasant at Mount Pleasant 16-14 on a safety. Summertown defeats Richland 15-10 at home, and Forest beats Loretto 13-7 in Chapel Hill. So all 3 of those games by less than a touchdown. And I would think if you're Cascade, looking at what happened in week 3, you kind of feel like you got the advantage, and in that you were able to go on the road and pick up a victory.
And not just that, but obviously a good Mount Pleasant team that's going to be right there in the thick of things at the end of this year. I won't be surprised if we've got to figure out a bunch of tiebreakers at the end of this one, whether it be for first, second, third. I think there's going to be some tiebreakers that we're going to have to get into, and Captain Chaos is going to be very happy.
Yeah, well, I'm glad Captain Chaos will be happy, because I could do without it. But I mean, to speak to this Mount Pleasant team, they played without possibly 3 of their top running backs. I mean, Kevin Cooper did not dress. Xavier Davidson went out midway through the second quarter. Perez Carter was unavailable.
And Tavarius Strayhorn didn't play.
And yeah, so you are without some offensive weapons there, and yet you play a pretty good Cascade team within a safety.
They also were able to stop the wing team.
Yeah.
So
I
mean, they only scored 2 touchdowns. Much better than the last time they saw that offense. So well done to Kit Hartsfield and that coaching staff for taking care of those, I guess what I said to them.
Concerns.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like you said, they gave up 2 touchdowns. I felt like, if you hold that team to 2 touchdowns, you got a chance to win. They did, and they did. If not for, a sack in the end zone in the second quarter, you're looking at overtime, or maybe you do some things differently down the stretch. So.
Sure. What did we learn in 6-5A this week? I think as far as what I saw out of Columbia Central on Friday night was pretty impressive. Now I don't know how good Franklin County is. They haven't been very good in the recent past, but this team just feels different. They feel like they have some leadership. They are incredibly selfless, as you mentioned before, how they don't care who gets the ball as long as whoever gets it does well. And Q Martin was the guy on Friday night And I think next week at Nolensville is going to tell us a lot more about this region.
Oh, absolutely. I think Central is going to be right in the mix all season. Just looking at these past 3 games. I mean, again, they did not play terribly badly against Marshall County in the season opener, and so to continue that and get a win over at Dixon County when John Moore was concerned defensively what they were going to look like. Went over there and played well, created a couple of turnovers. They've got 7 turnovers in 3 games that they have created. And so defense in the run game can give you a chance every night out. And I think that's going to be the key for them.
Yeah, obviously Page looked really good in that win over Spring Hill. So, I mean, right now it looks like Columbia Central, Page, and Nolensville, those 3 right there are going to be right in the thick of things. And like you said, I really feel like this is a Columbia Central team that has the ability to make some noise just because of that defense and how good they are, especially when they finally get back to full strength, even though they will be without one of Isaiah Cordell, who dislocated his elbow. Unfortunately, that was tough break for that kid. Literally.
Well, what's crazy about that is he injured his knee against Marshall County, didn't get to play against Dixon County. Apparently the knee injury was not severe enough to keep him out. He gets back in against Franklin County, and then he injures his elbow.
Yeah, he was getting up out of a pile, and somebody rolled into his elbow. And that's unfortunate.
I could have done without you saying that the first time you told me, and it didn't get any better just now. But, as you mentioned, Chris, this Columbia-Nolensville game, not this coming week, but next week, that could be for home field when it comes down to it.
It could absolutely be a determining factor in who hosts a playoff game in round 1. So I'm looking forward to that one very, very much so. Looking forward to seeing that one. And John Moore is too, by the way. Real quick, 7-6A, it appears that Summit has solidified themselves as a team to beat. Obviously, Ravenwood is still right there. Independence with a win over Centennial probably tells us it looks like we know what teams are going to make the playoffs. The seeding is the only question.
Yeah, and I think we've known that all along. I think we felt like Summit, Brentwood, and Independence and Ravenwood were pretty much the 4 in some order or another. Obviously, Brentwood at 0-3 right now kind of got some work to do, but Summit and Ravenwood have kind of separated themselves for the moment. Obviously, they've not played each other. And Indy, on any given night, and, they've got a tough one later this week, and we'll talk more about that later, but it's not a region game. So, I think Scott Blade's philosophy is we're playing these tough games now to get us ready when games count. And neither CPA nor Lipscomb nor Pope Prep really counts in the grand scheme of things for them other than just, practice. We talking practice.
We're talking about practice. That's right. All right. Before we get out of this segment, Mo, let's hand out a couple of game balls. We might only have 1 or 2. We may not have any every week. I'm just throwing this idea out there because we had a couple of guys who really stood out this week and wanted to give them their recognition and just due. And Q Martin was one of those.
Oh, certainly. 7 carries for 153 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's as you talked about the selflessness of that Columbia Central offensive group, when you've got a guy with the hot hand like that, you try to get him the ball. They didn't overwork him, but he took advantage of the opportunities he did have. Also had a 12-yard catch, and he had an interception. So getting it done on both sides of the ball. Q Martin with a great Friday night in that win over Franklin County.
On the other side of the ball, well, you said both sides, but on the defensive side of the ball, Brady Jenkins against Centennial had a monster game for Independence. I went back and watched this on the WCS network on YouTube. 15 tackles, 7 for loss, 1.5 sacks. pretty good night.
Solid. Definitely solid. Good for him.
Good job to Brady and Q. Those are our game balls. When we come back, we're going to talk to Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald. So stick around. Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, returns to the Lee Company studio after this.
Talking high school sports, here's Mo and Chris.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Lee Company studio. We are coming to you live from each of our studios. Mo in the Atlanta Braves clad studio. JP and still got his Vanderbilt stuff up. I'm impressed.
Hey,
he hasn't burned it yet.
I'm through, man.
Proud of him. And I come to you from my dining room, so with a nice little light fixture there above my head and a cow above my left shoulder.
Whatever works.
It's
all good.
And this works just fine. I wonder where is Joe Williams right now? That is the question. Joe of the Williamson Herald coming to you. What's going on, buddy?
I am still in witness protection. I saw that. Chris, I saw that cow. I thought maybe you had dated my third wife. I wasn't sure.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely not that.
Well, this picture reminded me so much.
Self-portrait, Joe. Self-portrait.
Yeah. Hey guys, y'all don't have enough game balls. You missed a couple.
Yeah. Well, we were going to let you hand out a few as well.
I was going to say it would be hard. It would be hard not to. Well, I don't know though. The stats from Indy were pretty impressive. 15 tackles, but when you've got a Keaton Wade who forces one and collects 3 fumbles, and Brady Pierce who picks off 3 passes. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw Brentwood commit 6 turnovers in a game.
Hey, let's hear it for the defense.
Let's hear
it was a good night for the defense.
Yeah. We got some solid defensive performances this weekend. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by that? Were you surprised by how dominant it felt like that Summit defense was?
I tell you what really surprised me more than anything else, and that was as we were walking in, they were leaving the field from warm up, and Coach Brian Coleman walked by, and I stopped him. I said, "My God, I didn't know you guys were really that big. I mean, that line is big. They got some big kids, and let me tell you, that offensive and defensive line impressed me all night. Yeah, a little bit.
27-14 Summit over Brentwood in the Region 7 6A opener for both those teams, visiting with Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald here. And Joe, you said that after the game, it wasn't about Summit getting their first win in region play as a 6A participant that held the Spartans that pleased them the most, apparently.
No, that's what was so funny. You know, there were so many storylines that could have been looked at there. The Class 5A champ coming in and playing the Class 6A runner-up from last year and beating them at home. The Brentwood struggles of going 0-3. All the Summit going 3-0, taking the lead in the region. Now, all these kids wanted to talk about was revenge. Apparently, 5 years ago in the Williamson County Middle School Championship game, Brentwood beat Spring Station 31-30 on a last-second field goal in middle school. And as I was told, because they got to kick it 3 times, they called us offsides twice. And that was the difference in the ballgame, last-second field goal. And that is what all these Summit seniors were talking about. We've waited a long time, but we finally got our revenge. And I thought that was a heck of a note. You say anything you wanted to about the game. But, and Mo, you've known me a long time, and you know that my elephant memory goes a long way on a couple of games. But I gained a lot. I kind of got a heart for these kids. If they can hold that kind of passion for 5 years to get even, I like it.
Hey, I like a long memory, as you well know. So, yeah, good for them getting a little get back that took a long time coming. In a 27-14 win there. So, what else in Williamson County kind of caught your attention last weekend?
Well, a couple. One, I really thought Centennial had a chance at Independence, but you know, when you give up 3 touchdowns in the first 4 to 6 minutes, you've dug a hole you're not going to get out of. I guess if there's a real positive across the county to this, Coach Blade is not on suicide watch. If he'd gone 0-3, I think we'd all been worried. I think it's a good gut check for Centennial. I'm telling you, the Centennial team is better than y'all think.
Okay.
It's better than you think.
All right.
What does that mean for Independence? I mean, and I, again, 62-7 from Lipscomb Academy is not indicative of how good this Independence team is or can be. But no. I mean, this is a really good football team when they don't do things like throw 4 interceptions.
Well, but think about, I'm agreeing with what Mo said earlier. You know, Scott Blade's got enough sense to know we go play these tough games. And if we take our lumps, we're taking our lumps when it doesn't matter. Think about it. You go 6-4 and still win the region.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, still be the top seed in the region.
And you can go back after you played, you know, CPA and Lipscomb and Pope Prep, and you can tell your guys, hey, we're not going to see a whole lot of teams better than this.
Exactly.
And I imagine that's what he is telling them.
Yeah.
So even in your own region.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think either team. I don't think either team is quite where we all think they might be. That's the way I'll put it.
I think that's fair. Joe, Fairview finally got to play at home, and it sounds like it went right down to the wire. I think it was about 9:00 Thursday night before Ricky Jones and Chris Hughes kind of put out the all clear on Facebook that we'll be playing at home tomorrow night.
Well, I can't prove it, but understand that there was a Chris Hughes led posse that was standing over the folks putting the field in, and it was pretty clear either the field got done or nobody was going home.
So it could have been 9:00 Thursday night or 9:00 Friday morning. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. You know, nobody's going home until this field is ready to play. And they christened it well. Good 41-27 win over the team that beat them last year. They overcame some adversity of their own making, a few penalties that unusual, uncharacteristic, but they still were able to come out with a victory, and I think they're ready to go now.
I was really impressed because, you know, that is a team that has, and those two teams have, over the last 4 or 5 years, have been the last two standing in that region. So to get this one out of the way early has to be a kind of a relief for Chris Hughes. He doesn't have to wait till week 10 to figure out who's going to be, you know, at least in the driver's seat. He's got that. He's kind of got some, maybe a little bit of relaxation going forward now.
Probably a little bit of a relief for Stewart County too, just because they know that they can, you know, recover.
Sure.
Yeah, so they can still get a home field.
That's right.
To start.
You know, Joe, we don't typically talk a whole lot of Division II Class 3A, but I don't know when the last time was that Brentwood Academy has lost consecutive ball games either.
You know, I actually was going to go back and try to look at that because you know, they got Whitehaven coming Friday night, and I'm not sure that is not a given for either.
Whitehaven coming off a 14-13 loss to Germantown. I can tell you, Rodney Salisbury will not be in a very good mood when he gets to Brentwood.
No, not at all. You know, I'd have to go back and look because I think it's been a while since they've lost 2 in a row. It's been a long time since they've been 1-2 to open season too.
1-2. They got the win over Florence of Alabama.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. That's you know, Brentwood Academy still has. They're still going to be right there at the end of the year, though. This is not a team that you can just write off.
No. Well, but they got some work ahead of them clearly after losing to CPA.
They actually lost back-to-back games in 2018. They lost 31-27 to McCallie. They had an open week and then lost 25-24 to MBA. But then they went on to win the state championship over MUS. So there you go. Had to travel in every round of the playoffs.
Oh, wow. Well, they didn't lose in consecutive weeks.
That's correct. They did not lose in consecutive weeks, but they lost in consecutive games.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just out here with all the knowledge, okay? I'm just trying to bring you the knowledge, and you make it fit whatever narrative you need to.
And we appreciate it. There you go. There you go.
Remember, liars figure and figures lie. So just keep bringing them numbers, baby.
There you go. What's your big one this week, Joe?
You know, I'm sitting here looking at the schedule, and I don't know. The Whitehaven at Brentwood Academy, I think, is pretty big. Brentwood going to Henry County, I think it's huge for the Bruins. They need a good performance there. Indy, another week they got to go up to Hendersonville to Pope Prep. No, and thank you for correcting me on that. No longer Pope John Paul II. It's now Pope Prep. I think that's a big one. I really think that the game I want to see is Blackman at Summit, just to see if the Spartans can continue what they started last week, or what I saw for the first time last week. And the other one that I think is interesting is Life Christian Academy at Ravenwood. The Raptors have brought in these academies, Pulaski Academy and others, over the last few years. And the funny part is Life Christian Academy. I am sure there are folks around the state doing some serious research on their history after the debacle a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just about to say this isn't going to be a Bishop Sycamore situation, is it?
Well, that's no. I mean, Pulaski Academy was legit. IMG Academy they brought in, they were legit, although they're more semi-pro, I think, than high school.
So,
and yeah,
for the record. For the record, Life Christian Academy is scheduled to host Bishop Sycamore Friday, October 29th. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Wow.
No.
Exactly.
Look, again, information, you do with it what you want.
There you go. We inform, you decide. Oh, wait a minute. Right. Somebody's already taken that one, haven't they?
Oh, gosh. Look, I don't know. All I know is you're right. Ravenwood has never backed down from playing these big time games against big time opponents, and that's what you want to see. And out of a program like Ravenwood, that's what you expect.
Well, guys, I wrote a column, I guess the first week, about is there finally a thaw in the Cold War between public and private schools, because we're seeing so many more public-private battles. And for those who are adamantly opposed to those two type schools playing, unfortunately, the private schools have mopped up pretty well. But I will say, these big, as you say, these big-time programs from outside, or even the private schools inside the state, if there's a county anywhere who I think perceptionally qualifies as the same, it's a group out of Williamson County. Williamson County schools are basically recruiting just with their schools. Now, the fact that there's an awful lot of money around here to support football programs don't hurt nothing neither.
So there you go. Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald joining us here on a Labor Day evening.
Joe, what you got on the grill for tonight?
Absolutely nothing.
You're going to Mo's house. Okay. No big deal.
Absolutely.
Mo said he's got stuff on the grill, so.
I think the wife is going to make some spaghetti, and I think I'm going to call it a night early and get ready to go back to work in the morning and just, keep my nose to the grindstone, live at the foot of the cross, and be a good boy.
That's a good idea, Joe. Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald. No, I don't think it was. I hope it was just JP's music, but we appreciate it, man. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Boys, y'all be good. Always good to visit with you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Again, Joe Williams of the Williamson Herald. Next hour, college football. Plenty of it. And the Braves. So stick around. Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Returns to the Lee Company Studio in just a moment.
covering the teams you care about. It's Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Once again, live from the Lee Company studio with the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, here's Chris Yao.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Lee Company studio with an S. One in Franklin, one in Nashville, one in Lawrenceburg. We got you covered. Talk about Southern Middle Tennessee sports. We go all the way from Nashville to Lawrenceburg, folks.
It's pretty southern.
Bringing you Reaction Monday. Hashtag Reaction Monday here. I got a lot of things on this on my sheet here, and we're going to do this over the next couple of segments anyway. So take your time, Mo, as I go through my thoughts. You if you've got anything that you want to talk about, please feel free.
Well, I just figured I would let you lead and I'll follow.
Well, let's go ahead and just get this out of the way so we can hopefully get JP's mind off of it. What do you say?
Just rip the Band-Aid off. Huh?
Rip it off, and let's just talk about this. East Tennessee State, when we talked to Chris Lee, he basically said, okay, they're not going to lose this game, so we're not even going to talk about it. Oh, wait, they did.
Yeah.
And
they didn't just lose it.
They got beat.
And they lost it decisively. 23-3.
How does that happen? How does it happen?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't watch enough of it to really have a feel, but I do remember we did see a couple of things, and the one thing you said was they're not moving ETSU up front, and they didn't, and that was my one thought about this ball game. If nothing else, they can just pound ETSU in the run game between the tackles and eventually wear them down. And I don't know if it was from a lack of trying or a lack of ability, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and like you said when you said, or your post on Facebook, and my response was that they're not any more talented than most FCS teams. Right now, they're just not more talented. They're not as talented. And that's unfortunate for Vanderbilt, obviously. And we all know it's a difficult process to recruit to Vanderbilt. And I think that Clark Lee is going to give them a little bit of a unique perspective once he gets going in that recruiting process, because he did play there.
Right.
But it's bad. I mean, they're in a dire situation here. Good thing is they play Colorado State next week, who also lost to an FCS team.
Yeah. It's got to be concerning in that, again, you were not better in any phase than East Tennessee State. And you got to realize East Tennessee State was shut down. They didn't play football for like a full decade until 2013, I think it was.
But since then, they have made the FCS playoffs. So it's not like they've just been trash for 7 years.
Well, they've not been trash, but when was that? Because it's not been recent that they made the FCS playoffs, I don't think.
I want to say it was. I mean, it's been since they were shut down.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, I don't know.
And I mean, they play in the Southern Conference, which is a good FCS conference.
They lost to Jacksonville State in 2018 in the first round of the playoffs.
All right.
But I mean, and they would have won the Southern Conference last year had they beaten Mercer and VMI lost to the Citadel. That did not happen. So therefore,
okay. All right.
They would have made it last year. That being said, Vanderbilt's got where do you go from here? JP, where do you go from here?
Well, you can only go up.
Or sideways.
Famous last words.
Yeah. It's I purposefully have not read anything about Saturday night. It was bad. They clearly have a long way to go. I do think I don't think it was necessarily coaching. Like when Derek Mason's first game, they lost to Temple. That was coaching. They had no business losing that with the talent that was left to Derek Mason. Now, apparently,
I'm going to stop you just a second.
All right.
How many quarterbacks did they go through that year?
The first year of Mason, they went through 3, but he didn't start the right one and win all 3 in that first. 4. I don't know. It was too many.
They went through 4.
Yeah, he did. Well, he didn't, in my opinion, start the right one for that game. He was overwhelmed that game to start as a head coach, and Clark Lee may have been. They just got beat physically by ETSU on Saturday night. So
that's not supposed to happen to an SEC team.
Exactly. Overall, to me, what it says is that the talent level is lower than it's been since maybe Bobby Johnson got there.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you again, because the fact that they got beat physically, what's been going on in the weight room since Clark got there? And again, I'm not trying to make this about necessarily the coaching change, but I'm not ready to absolve him of all of this either.
I'm not absolving Clark Lee of anything. I'm just telling you what I saw. Vanderbilt in that Temple game, they made some stupid mistakes on the field. Players did some bad coaching decisions, and they lost the game. And it wasn't close. Saturday night, they just couldn't beat them. They just got outplayed physically, and in every facet. It wasn't that there was 5 turnovers for Vanderbilt, and they just got beat. And I don't know. Obviously not a good start for Clark Lee at all. It's the worst possible start you could have. However, I do think there is more organization than what they had. Now, it obviously didn't show, and we'll see. I mean, we'll know right away how much better they get from week 1 to week 2, and that's always the time when teams have the most improvement. So this is by far the biggest week for Clark Lee that he'll have for a long time at his tenure at Vanderbilt.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah, I mean, again, Colorado State lost to an FCS team as well. If they lose this game, you could be staring 0-12 in the face.
Yeah, Connecticut's the only one they have on their schedule that is worse. They also lost to an FCS team.
And their coach has announced
he's retiring.
Mm-hmm. He's like, please don't fire me. I'm going to retire, I swear.
Man.
So there's that. Speaking of FBS teams losing to FCS teams, 6 times that happened this weekend, including one that hadn't happened in over 100 years, Montana beating Washington. But one that didn't happen is the one that stands out to me. And you're gonna beam with glee, Mo. MTSU destroyed FCS playoff contender Monmouth. That's got to make Blue Raider fans pretty excited, considering all that happened in week 1. If you're looking at it from 30,000 feet.
What was the final to that one?
50 to something.
50 to 15.
Yeah, we left it at 21-7 at half.
21-7 at the half.
Yeah, they looked like they had full control.
Yeah, I mean, 6 FBS teams lost to FCS teams, and we weren't one of them. Yay!
That has to be a point of pride at this point. Not having beating teams you're supposed to beat is a big deal nowadays.
That when you spin it in that direction, that makes sense. You're right. Big win for the Blue Raiders.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it tomorrow with Chip Walters on our show. I just wanted to mention that one real quick. Speaking of, let's just stay in state real quick. Tennessee State couldn't get any offense going yesterday in their loss to Grambling. Is that a worry for Eddie George, or is that just because his starting quarterback had COVID?
I'd like to put it on the latter, but I think you would like to have seen more out of them, even without, even with the quarterback situation in flux. Devin Starling got the one touchdown. They had some penalties, unforced penalties, offsides and illegal procedures and that thing, that you've got to get cleaned up. And I think that hopefully will be the focus for Coach George and that coaching staff here over the next week before they go to Memphis for the Southern Heritage Classic, where he and Dion Coach Prime will face off. So,
yeah. Well, and I watched a little bit of that Jackson State game yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely brutal game to watch, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
But it was coming an absolute just flood in Miami. So I understand the fact that Shedeur Sanders was able to complete 18 of 24 passes in that was impressive in itself. Outside of that,
did they pull a Tom Brady? Did they check those balls? Because 18 of 24 in the kind of weather that you are describing. Come on now.
Well, I'll tell you, he had a couple of drops that would have helped him too, but neither here nor there. I thought, as far as the defense is concerned, I thought that if Jackson State plays defense like that against Tennessee State, it could be another pretty tough ball game. So I'll be interested to see how that one plays out, because obviously that's going to be a massive game with massive implications across HBCUs, and I think it's going to have a ton of fan support. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you saw this, but Tennessee State had a couple of delay of game penalties because the aristocrat of bands was in front of the play clock. Right before halftime.
I did not see it. I am not shocked.
Right before halftime, they're standing right in front of the play clock, and they had a couple of delay game penalties. That was interesting. Hopefully that will be rectified in the future. I just thought that was a note that we probably needed to get to. But yeah, so I'm excited. The fan support at the Hall of Fame game was really good. So I'm excited to see what happens in Memphis as well.
There will certainly be a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, not just in the stadium.
And a lot of eyes that have not typically been on that game or on HBCU football. So
that's the one thing that is positive from all of this, is the visibility is becoming, I guess, bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, we got a couple of minutes left. I want to talk about Presbyterian. I can't recall the kid's name now because I didn't look it up, but their quarterback for the Blue Hose, Hose.
Yeah, Blue Hose.
I would just like to throw that out there. Ren Heffley, not to be confused with Ren and Stimpy, but spelled the same. Ren Heffley throws 10 touchdown passes for Presbyterian as he's a Michigan transfer.
Oh, goodness.
And Kevin Kelly is the Presbyterian coach. And if you don't know who Kevin Kelly is, he is the former high school coach that doesn't punt.
Oh.
The guy from Arkansas.
Oh,
Pulaski
Academy.
Yeah, from Pulaski Academy. Yeah, he doesn't punt. They scored 84 points. He didn't need to punt this week.
Goodness gracious.
10 touchdowns from Ren Heffley. And Ryan Greenhagen pulling the Bobby Boucher. Ryan Greenhagen had 30 tackles. 30. Do you understand what I'm saying? 30?
I didn't know where you were going with the Bobby Boucher. I was like, what did the water boy make the team and play or something? I don't know.
So Fordham, who's playing Nebraska, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fordham linebacker Ryan Greenhagen has 30 tackles, 17 of them solo. Okay. Do you remember the scene from the LT camp where he's like, the center hands the ball to the quarterback, and then I try to tackle him unless he hands it to somebody else, in which case I try to tackle that person. Like, that was his game plan. Find the ball, make a play.
So did he just have every tackle before him?
Just about. He was named National Player of the Week. So well done to Ryan Greenhagen. I thought that was interesting. So,
In a 40-point loss.
in a 40-point loss, but boy, that's impressive anyway.
Hey, that goes back to what we've said. I didn't lose.
Y'all lost. That's
Y'all.
right. Oh, man. More college football reactions when we come back on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. A lot of SEC coming up, so stick around. We'll be right back.
From preps to pros and everything in between, it's Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Live from the Lee Company studio. With the Hall of Famer Mo Patton, here's Chris Yow.
Welcome back into Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow, Mo Patton, JP Plant coming to you from each of our humble abodes. JP with the Main Street Murray newspaper in the background there. Just want to inform those of you who are looking out for that. Should be getting that out on Wednesdays. If you are not getting it in the mailbox, you can sign up to subscribe on mainstreetmurray.com. Just click the hamburger menu and go to subscribe. You can have it mailed to you. It's absolutely free if you are in the county. If you want to find it somewhere, there are plenty of rack locations. Also in that hamburger menu, you can just click rack location. It'll tell you everywhere that you can find it. So yeah, do that.
Let me just tell you, the hamburger menu is that stack of 3 lines up in the upper left corner, because the first couple of times you made that comment to me, I'm like, what are you talking about?
It looks like a hamburger.
It does eventually, but initially it's like, what?
Where's the cheese?
Hamburger
The
menu.
Adidas menu.
Yeah.
For stripes.
Oh, God.
Geez.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Let's get into some more college football reactions here. But before we get into the SEC, I just want to take a moment to just say how impressed I am that Mackenzie Milton not only was able to put on a uniform, but lead Florida State to a comeback and to an overtime appearance last night against top 10 ranked Notre Dame. Well done.
no doubt. Really, a touching story there with everything that happened to him at UCF 2 or 3 years ago, and the fact that he is playing at all is awesome. And the way Florida State responded to him, including the starting quarterback who went out because his helmet got knocked off. Just that whole thing, that was really cool to see last night. I'm glad that I actually had the game on when that developed. So it's a lot of fun.
Guys, I think that game and that storyline and going to overtime, I think was the quintessential perfect picture of college football returning to what it was pre-pandemic, at least with the fans, the storylines, the passion. I think that game last night really signified what that was all about. It was great. I'm a big fan too of Joe Tessitore, and I'm glad he's back in college where I think he belongs. It sounded like he was appreciative to be back in college, and Greg McElroy is not bad for a Bama boy. No, he's pretty good. I like Joe Tessitore, and I thought they did a good job kind of encapsulating that.
Well, being in that time slot, the only game on, the only thing that you can, if you're watching college football and you're not going to not watch Notre Dame, Florida State, anybody who's, who is in our age bracket is going to be watching that game just if for nothing else, the nostalgia factor of those two teams playing together. And so it was, and then it turned into a great football game, which is exactly what you want for college football. College football got better last night because those two teams did what they did. Exactly. And Mackenzie Milton did what he did. So
yeah. He wasn't just in there as a gimmick. He comes in and he completes a pass right off the rip. He connects on a little shovel pass, leads them down for a touchdown there, like you said. And in the last segment, we were talking about UConn. Brett McMurphy at Brett_McMurphy about 45 minutes ago. Randy Edsall steps down immediately as UConn's coach. Defensive coordinator Lou Spanos will serve as interim coach for remainder of season.
Oh, wow. So he's not even staying then for the whole season.
I wonder if he's any kin to Jesse Spanos.
Oh, hey. I'm so excited.
A little Saved by the Bell reference there, Chris. Well done.
So does that mean that AC Slater will be suiting up for the Huskies then?
He might be.
They could use him.
Couldn't be any worse, huh?
Couldn't be any worse.
But Zach Morris at quarterback. Hey, come on.
Dear, please no. Oh man. Hey,
Anyway,
let's move into some SEC talk here, because after just an absolute awful football game, this was LSU Alabama 9-6, awful football game. Georgia 10, Clemson 3, but looking at this Georgia schedule outside of Florida, is there any chance they're not a virtual lock to make the college football playoff?
Short of a loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game,
Even with it.
Well, yeah.
Because who else?
They're not going to lose to anybody else.
Right.
Meanwhile, does the ACC get a team in?
I don't know who Clemson can beat right now that
makes up for that loss.
That makes up for that.
Yeah.
Especially if
certainly not in the conference.
Especially if Oregon was to happen to win this week, and then with UCLA's win over LSU this weekend, the Pac-12 now looking like it might get a team in finally.
Just in time for the Alliance.
Just in time, yeah.
Maybe that was the kicker. That's what they needed. The emotional support. To answer your question about Clemson, no, unfortunately, and North Carolina being 10th ranked, they lost.
Yep.
So that prestige is gone. Miami, 14th ranked now. Alabama. I mean, it's how much can you dock Miami for that? Because everybody would have lost to the Crimson Tide that way. But Miami, a game Clemson to beat Miami doesn't mean as much now as it did. So the big marquee teams, took it on the chin over the weekend. And you're right. I don't know. It'll have to be a numbers game. Pac-12 will have to play itself out. Oklahoma,
or Texas.
You figure one of those are going to be in, if unless they beat each other up, and that could happen. It's happened before.
Ohio State.
Ohio State is going to get in. Penn State might get in the way that they played and went to a.
Here's the thing:
so who knows?
Oklahoma didn't necessarily wow anybody.
No,
the way they beat Tulane.
But if they go undefeated, they're in.
Right.
Regardless of how they win, they're going to be in.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma or Texas with one or no losses, especially, they get in.
I think Texas has to run the table. Oklahoma could get in with one loss, but I think Texas will have to run the table.
Depending on who it's to.
Well, it depends, because if Texas loses one, but they win the Big 12 championship,
if they come back and if they lose to Oklahoma in their Red River rivalry.
There you go.
I can't just call it the shootout. I'm calling it the Red River Shootout.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like the cocktail party. It's still the cocktail party.
If they lose to Oklahoma and then come back and beat them in the Big 12 championship, yeah, you're right. There's a chance. There's a chance there. And you think two teams from Alabama and Georgia. I mean, I think
the loser of Alabama Texas A&M could potentially get in.
That's true.
I mean,
the loser of Alabama Texas A&M, if that winner beats Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Correct. Because you just treat the SEC championship game like a second round playoff.
In that scenario, guys, you got a one-loss Georgia, only loss SEC championship game, one loss Alabama, one loss Texas A&M. Now, obviously the champion who beats Georgia goes. Then is it Georgia or Texas A&M or Alabama? Man.
What if they took all three?
Oh.
That's what the SEC, that's what the Alliance is trying to avoid. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Here's your alliance right here.
Honestly,
we're taking Alabama, Georgia, and A&M to the playoffs.
And if Oklahoma loses,
put that in your alliance.
They're out. I mean, then it's Oklahoma or Ohio State. I mean,
and if Ohio State loses to Oregon, I mean, I think the Big Ten is good enough that you could play yourself back into it, because again, Penn State, Wisconsin, even Minnesota played well against Ohio State. So I think you could play yourself back into it there. But the Pac-12 with UCLA beating LSU, I don't think LSU is that good. And I know, and I guess we need to go ahead and talk about it, but I know I picked LSU to cover the 4.5 points. But I just thought that was just going to be because they were going to go out there and push them around. UCLA under Chip Kelly is looking good. And to me, it feels like this UCLA or Oregon team could make a play for a playoff spot.
As far as LSU goes, I'm trying to understand, why did TJ Finley leave?
The starting quarterback is hurt, right? So the guy that he lost the job to is hurt. Remember, he tore his ACL or something.
Miles Brennan.
Yeah. So he left because he thought that guy was going to be the starter, and he would have been had he not gotten hurt, which has now led to this debacle.
Yeah, the behind the back pass. Did you see that?
Oh,
that was so bad. Did you see the tweet that was like, dude really thought he was Patrick Mahomes and just went for it?
It worked for him.
Yeah, you're not Patrick Mahomes, sir.
It's like tossing a garter at the end of a wedding reception.
I thought he looked like the guy from Nebraska who threw the ball from out of bounds on punt return.
From the end zone.
It was
Threw it out
just-
of the end zone. Yeah.
none of that is good, and I don't think LSU is that good. I mean, especially without a good quarterback. So yes, but nonetheless, it makes UCLA look good. Now they get to the playoff and they end up like Washington having to play. I guess who did Washington get beat by? Was it Auburn or I don't remember who. Washington
was
got
Auburn.
destroyed in the playoffs by somebody, and that's probably what's going to end up happening to UCLA. But I think with a win over an SEC team, you put yourself in the conversation now. A ranked SEC team. It's not like they, beat
Vanderbilt.
Tennessee.
Yes, you can say Vanderbilt. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say Kentucky, but Kentucky won pretty big too.
Yeah, Kentucky looks good.
They did. I thought Kentucky was as impressive as they have been because they were able to throw the football.
Kentucky might be the second best team in the East this year. Might
Well,
be.
especially after Emory Jones's trash performance. That guy looked like he couldn't play for me.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to seeing what he was going to do. And now that we've seen what he's going to do, we can look forward to something else.
His backup, however, played really well. So there's that. And apparently his backup is the first quarterback that Dan Mullen has recruited to Florida, from what I understand. So he's Dan Mullen's guy. So that's already a knock against Emory. And then you go out there and play poorly, and that guy plays well. I don't know that we see Emory Jones back on the field. And by the way, the backup wears number 15. Don't know how that number's not in the rafters yet. But
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not.
Hello.
Exactly. Yeah, what are they waiting on?
Apparently this kid.
I guess
Wait on him to retire? Maybe.
I guess for him to stop trying to play in the NFL, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Sir, can you just, give it up now, please? No, Anthony Richardson. Now, he was only 3 for 8 passing, but he ran 7 times for 160 yards and a touchdown.
That's solid.
I mean, 3 of 8 is not great, but 17 of 27 for 113, a touchdown and 2 picks is not great either. And then again, Emory Jones ran 10 times for 74 yards. So, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know where you go from here if you're Dan Mullen.
He's got options.
Yeah, options are good. And then finally, I gotta ask you this, Mo, because I mentioned it to JP. Did you happen to see what Manny Diaz said after the game when a reporter was asking him why they were struggling early against Alabama?
Yeah, I did not.
All right, hang on. Let me get to it because it's hilarious. He said, pressed by one reporter about why Miami looked so bad early after having 8 months to prepare, Diaz said, among other things, they've been doing this to everybody. They won the national championship by 30 points. And so I replied and said, what is he, as if I'm Diaz, what do you want me to do? These MFs roll everybody. Warren Sapp and Ed Reed ain't walking through that door.
There you go. I mean,
What do you want me to do? They literally destroyed the second best team in college football last year by 30 points, and you thought I was going to do something?
they do this to they do this to everybody. Literally. I mean, that's as good a response as there is to that. And I don't know what you want him to say. I don't know what you wanted him to do under the circumstance. Heck, 44-13 could have been worse.
Could have been worse. JP goes 5-5 in our pick'em this week. Chris Yao goes 0-10. 0-10, JP. How do you not get a single game right? Out
Did
of
you
10,
really
I
go
didn't even
0-10?
get lucky. 0-10.
Wow.
I don't even know how that's possible.
I neglected to actually pick, but I was 2-8. So, I mean,
I'm just trying to figure out how it's possible.
Ah, got a
So if you
3-game
want to get
lead.
in our pick'em,
There we go.
if you want to get in on our pick'em,
There's
can,
room for people to
because
win.
there's-
Is that what you're saying?
even if you missed week 1, you still got a shot. That's all I'm saying. Because I'm right there with you with 0 wins. Glad I didn't put any money on any of that stuff.
Mhm.
All
0-10.
right, that's-
Really?
Oh, and I cannot believe it. I could not believe it. When I saw it, I was like, that can't be right. It was true. All right, let's talk a little bit of the Atlanta Braves when we come back. They're off tonight, but we got plenty to talk about from this past weekend. So stick around on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Day, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio right after this.
When the Braves play, Chris and Mo are talking about it,
Yeah, that's trash can juice.
Speak for yourself.
for better or worse, on Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today. Back to the Lee Company studio. Yep, they're fans too. Here's Chris and Mo.
Welcome back in Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Last segment on this Monday edition of the show. If you're watching on YouTube or on Twitter, congratulations, or on Facebook. We are on Facebook today, Southern Middle Tennessee Sports Facebook page, so that's positive. We'll try to add another page tomorrow and just keep adding pages until they make us stop. Until it no longer goes to the page anymore. So I think what happened was when I unclicked it to go there for us to go to YouTube on its own, that was a problem, JP. So we'll figure it out. We'll get you back up on Facebook, and we'll be back on the radio tomorrow, WKOM and WZYXradio.net. So check that out. I want to get into the Braves real quick, but I do want to ask you this question, Mo. Have you ever botched a joke worse than Brian Kelly?
Probably, because
Just not on national television?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not spontaneously funny either. I don't think, and I don't think that was spontaneous. I think that was part of the problem. I think he was going to try to get that joke off no matter what he was asked, and I think that was part of the problem.
Yeah, the joke was not. when it was initially said by John McKay when he was coaching the Tampa Bay Bucks, it wasn't the full, he wasn't talking about execution. He was asked about execution.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
But yeah, I mean,
that's funny.
He was set up.
He was
Coach,
set
what
up
did you
for it.
think about your team's execution? I'm all for it.
I'm in favor.
Yeah.
But the way that this one went out, he butchered that one pretty bad. I just thought that was interesting.
I just don't think he's a very funny guy under any circumstances.
Well, and then you add in the fact that he has actually been involved in,
there's
the death
that.
of a player.
Yeah, I mean, just the lack of self-awareness there. And I mean, I made a couple of comments about it on Twitter last night and got some flack in response. I wasn't offended. I just thought it was stupid on his part.
It was just a bad joke, right?
Yeah.
JB, what do you think?
Just to let folks know that may not have heard it,
Yeah.
it was after the game talking about execution, and I don't remember if Brian Kelly brought up the term execution first, or
He
if
did.
he was asked.
Brian
That's
Kelly
what I
did
thought.
bring up the term
Yep.
execution.
That's why the joke didn't
Yes.
work.
And he said something. What, they should all be executed?
Yeah.
And
He said something about he wasn't happy with his team's execution, and perhaps his entire team should be executed.
yeah, it was.
Very poor.
Yeah, it was one of those. Wait, did he just say that? Yeah, he doesn't have the delivery for that. But yeah, I think you're right, Mo. I think it was premeditated.
I absolutely think it was premeditated. And I don't know why. And so afterwards he's trying to explain where it came from and that kind of thing. And Coach, we know the joke.
You just didn't do a good job of telling it.
from USA Today, while speaking to ABC's Katie George, who asked about Notre Dame's ability to withstand Florida State's impressive comeback, he had this to say: "I'm in favor of execution. Maybe our entire team needs to be executed after tonight." It's like, again, when John McKay said it, it was funny
because
it was set up.
He was asked,
yeah,
about execution.
There was no execution there other than him.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought that was. I wanted to get that in because I thought it was hilarious that he really thought he did something.
Yeah,
He did not.
And he's trying to figure out why folks are upset about it. Because you're an idiot.
And yet he called the media idiots.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Atlanta Braves 72-64 after a split at Colorado. They won the bookends and probably should have been a little better on this road trip, but 4-8 over the toughest part of the season, dating back to that 2-game set with the Yankees. Not ideal, but could have been worse, Mo.
Could have been a lot worse. I mean, they came out and they still sit atop the NL East despite all that. So, I mean, they've got some work to do. They're not up as big as they had been, but they're still up. So
still up and still have 6 games to play, 3 against the Phillies and 3 against the Mets. So you still have your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you still get to play, as I'm looking at the schedule here. And I know you have to go to Arizona, which is, you've played well in Arizona. You don't want to play them at home, obviously, because you get swept. But you have to go to San Francisco, Arizona, and San Diego, and that's not going to be an easy trip. But right now you get Washington, Miami, and then Colorado, who has been just atrocious on the road. So at home, they're tied. Or I'm sorry, they're a game back of the Dodgers for the best home record in the National League. So splitting a series there, not so bad.
You like you said, you like this 9-game homestand: 3 against Washington, 3 against Miami, an off day, and then 3 against Colorado. I mean, if you go 2-1 in each of those, even, and maybe sweep 1, you're in pretty good shape, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And then, of course, over as we look back, 2 one-run losses, one of which instant replay
Oh,
has been the Achilles heel of the Atlanta Braves.
I don't know if anyone has had worse luck with instant replay than the Braves had, just because I don't pay attention to, all 30 teams, I guess. But I can't imagine anybody coming out on the bad side of more reviews than Atlanta has. And again, it's like, why do we even have it? Because that Austin Riley call out at second base,
atrocious.
yeah.
The Rosario call was close, but the way the guy made the tag, I don't think you can call him safe.
Yeah. But
or you can't call him out, but he did. And
the Riley call, I don't know how you miss it the first time around.
Well, he got shielded by the player. So the umpire was directly behind
the shortstop.
Directly behind him. That's how he missed that call, which is understandable. I don't know why he moved, but whatever.
Okay, well, that's fine. But
he was out of position.
But when you go to replay on that call and you still can't get it right, and again, if they in New York are loath to overturn the call on the field because they want to support the umpires, then they are killing the concept. That's not what replay is in place for, to back these guys up. Replay is in place to get the call right.
Why are baseball officials the only ones that are so worried about keeping their colleagues propped up? The NFL doesn't care.
No,
the NFL turns you over. If the call is the call and there's just nothing you can do about it.
And if you botched it, we're gonna fix it.
College football, college basketball, doesn't matter. Nobody cares except MLB umpires, apparently. And I'm not sure MLB umpires really care, but apparently someone in New York thinks they do.
And whoever it was that came up with the idea, don't tell them what the call on the field was. I think there's something to that.
Absolutely. I think that would be the best way to make that change. Now, I don't know, either that or let me hear the conversation. Because when the AAF did it and they said, all right, now what we're looking for here is whether or not the ball hit the ground before it came out of his hands or whatever. When you hear that conversation between those two,
there's some transparency.
There's transparency, and you understand it as a fan. You can understand, okay, well, now I see
what they saw.
I see what they saw. I understand their thought process.
I don't agree with it, but at least I see what they saw.
That right there would be huge. So nonetheless, is what it is. Still 2 games up. Duvall with a 3-run homer yesterday, because that's what he does. Is he tied for the National League lead, or is he leading the National League in RBIs with 94?
I think he's tied.
He's up there. He's either first by himself or first with somebody else.
An RBI machine, and Miami didn't want him. And again, nobody's happier that he's back in Atlanta than George Plaster.
I don't know. I might be now at this point, because we needed somebody who could hit with RISP, and apparently we got the guy we needed. So, it's unfortunate for Jock Peterson, because there's 4 guys for 3 spots, and Jock has kind of been the odd man out lately.
He has, because Soler has really been getting it done, and Rosario has continued what he did down at Gwinnett. And so, yeah, it's tough. And it's funny, Jock was the first one to get there.
Yeah. He was the first one we went and got. And I think Ozzy being able to lead off has been kind of the nail in Jock's coffin, because we needed a leadoff hitter, and Jock had been so good at the leadoff spot this season. And that's why we went and got him. But obviously Ozzy has been very good.
Well, there are still those that would tell you he needs to cut down on his strikeouts from the left side, but
Well, sure. I mean, if that's your only complaint, then congratulations. You have a guy with 85 RBIs who, is
in the leadoff spot.
In the leadoff spot. Well, I mean, obviously he hasn't been there all year, but yeah. I mean, he's getting extra base hits. He's hitting home runs. He's doing everything that you want, a leadoff guy to do. Yes, it would be great if he struck out less, but that'd be everybody. So whatever. Charlie Morton, $20 million for 2022 and a 23 option for the team with a $20 million. What do you think?
Solid. I mean, you can't argue with what he's done this year. He's pretty much been the ace of this staff. Max has kind of been up and down over the course of the year. Charlie has pretty much he's given you 6+ every time he's gone out. He's given you a chance to win every time he goes out. And as this team has surged over the course of the season, he's been a big part of that. So, it's great to think that they're going to have him around for another year to help solidify that rotation.
Yeah, especially if Soroka gets back, and then you've got Anderson, Inoa, Breed, Morton, Tukey.
You get deep in a hurry.
You get deep, and depth is huge because remember, Ian Anderson, Bryce Wilson, and who else? Huascar Inoa started.
All right.
Or AJ Minter started an NLCS game last year. So we need the depth. We'll take the depth. I'd much rather be deep than not. So
without question. Yeah.
We've lost JP.
Oh, what else have we lost? I wonder.
Probably everything.
No.
Hey, JP.
Hello.
Oh. How are you, buddy?
Well, he says he's there.
Yeah, he's there. I see him. He's just
we never went away.
Oh, okay. We just
what
we lost your
what did we
face,
tell you,
man.
Chris?
Just keep going.
Keep going.
Listen, man, I was just worried about you. I was scared that you had been abducted by aliens. I'm from Alabama. I believe in those things.
Or by ETSU fans.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that was kind of
Mo. Yes, you are.
September 6, 2020, Freddie Freeman's second Grand Slam in 3 days and second of his career helped Atlanta to a 10-3 win over visiting Washington in the final game of a 4-game series, salvaging a split, not a sweep.
I was like, how do you salvage a sweep?
You don't salvage a sweep. Yeah. Freeman had gone 5,882 plate appearances over a 10-game career without a Grand Slam before hitting 2 in 10 plate appearances against the Nationals en route to the NL Most Valuable Player Award last year.
Who? I know where you got this. I assume that they wrote it.
Who's that?
10-game career?
Oh, no, I wrote that. It was just a typo. 10-year career.
Okay. Just making sure that.
Yeah, 5,882 plate appearances in 10 games.
Dang, homie. That's a lot.
Yeah. He had all the plate appearances. Yeah.
And then he hit another one not too long after that, prompting Chelsea to tweet. I guess everything comes in twos these days.
No, that was Chelsea's tweet after this one. He hit one on Friday, and then he hit one on Sunday. This is the Sunday one.
Ah, gotcha.
And that's when everything came in twos. Yes,
that was a great tweet. Yeah. Nashville Sounds this week, they are taking on Memphis at home Tuesday, 7:05, First Horizon Park. They lost 5-6 at Louisville. Hopefully we can talk to Jeff Hamm and try to figure out what's going on with the Nashville Sounds. If nothing else, get out to the ballpark this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will see you tomorrow, 4 o'clock. We'll talk to Chip Walters, Top 5 Tuesday. Obviously talk some Braves. More college football, I'm sure, at some point. So stick around for that. Tomorrow, come back. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us today on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and everywhere else. For JP Plant and Mo Patton, I am Chris Yao saying have a great day. Stay cool, Columbia.